Hello everybody, welcome back to another video, and in this video I, Velga the Observer, will be showing you this magnificent, enormous, mountain-sized beast called the Dredgebeast. And this monster is enormous, it's huge, it's the size of a mountain, and it looks like a man. Have you ever thought when you were a kid, when I grow up I want to be a dinosaur? Well, I have granted your wish. This is what you would look like if you would have turned into a dinosaur. But I didn't quite grant your wish all the way. I didn't turn you into a T-Rex. I turned you into a dinosaur that is constructed using the parts of a human body. So this is what it looks like, and I think it looks very badass. It's enormous. So you can see it's got four huge legs. It's got four huge legs, and it's got, how many arms does it have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's got eight arms on its underside, and it's just all fleshy looking. It looks like it's made of flesh. It really looks like it's made of human skin. Like if you were to cut it open, you will have a human-like flesh, like a mammalian type of flesh. And over here in the back, you can see it's got this toothed or like horned tail, kind of like a horse tail. How it's so fluffy, but it's not fluffy, it's actually spiky. It's got spikes. What is that one dinosaur that has lots of spikes on its tail? I forgot. Well, I'll pull up a picture of it right here because I forgot the name. But that's what inspired me to draw this one. Also hippopotamus tails, how the hippos are so big but the tails are so small. So it's got these huge legs and lots of arms on the underside, and you can see it's got a big hump, and also the head itself, it looks like a giant finger with lots of fingernails coming out of it, but it's evolved beyond just being fingernails. It's legit horns now, and on each of its four major legs it's also got like this huge single horn sticking out on top, and there are also horns sticking at the bottom. Only single horns at the bottom, and the use of that is so that they can just hook themselves, like they can anchor themselves in place. They dig those into the ground and they won't move. And how this creature hunts. Okay, so in my world, the bigger the animal gets, the more long living it will get, and the less it needs to eat. And this is actually inspired by the concept of deep sea gigantism. I think that's what it's called. So when creatures are living in such deep parts of the ocean, they can grow really big. Even though they're big, they actually live longer, and they somehow are able to eat less at the cost of a slower metabolism. And they just don't move as aggressively, they don't move as fast, but they're able to just live for a long time, and they don't have to eat all that much to survive. And that's the idea behind this beast. It's really big, and you can see down here I've drawn you right here. You're standing there, you're super small. You can see how small you are even compared to its arms, let alone the rest of its body. And what it does to hunt is it just remains still. It remains still with its four huge legs. It just remains still like a statue, and it constantly stares down. It constantly stares down, and whenever something passes by, like let's say a buffalo, or it could even be just a bunch of birds, it would quickly grab that thing with its many arms, and it would feed it slowly towards its face, towards its mouth. And I will show you the face later, but for now you're going to just have a look at this while I explain. And the legs itself, they don't really do much besides just supporting its own weight while it just stays idle. It can even stay idle for years without having to eat. And the use of the arms is so that it can just grab up whatever is down there And this thing is actually an omnivore, just like us humans. And it doesn't need to only eat meat, it can eat whatever. That's why I call it the Dredgebeast, because it can actually dredge whatever is on the ground. And it can completely plow the ground as long as there's something to eat. And if there's nothing else to eat, it will just move on. And you can see all these birds that are flying around on the underside of this thing. And there are even more on top, because birds just like to fly around this thing. And they can sort of just pick off all the stuff that is stuck on its skin, kind of like parasites. But I also don't know why, but birds just seem to like to gather around things that are enormous, like buildings, like very tall buildings, very tall statues, like whatever. I don't know why they like to do that. Maybe it's just maybe it's fun. I don't know, I'm not a bird. But I added a lot of birds all over for scale, and also to just push the idea that this thing is absolutely massive. And you can see clouds and the sun or the moon in the back, depending on how you see it. And also some low-level clouds there. Or you can even say that's mist, you know, could be anything. Lots of mist on the ground, because I think if I painted in an actual ground, it would take your focus away too much from the Dredgebeast itself. But I just I made mist on the ground only, so it really emphasizes how terrifying this thing is, because this thing is the only thing that is in focus. And I quite like painting this Dredgebeast this way. How I did it was simply I made a silhouette, and then I slowly painted inside of the silhouette. I don't come out of the silhouette. It's a very fun process to do. I really only had 2 layers of the silhouette at the beginning. I had one for the bright areas, and I had one for the dark areas. It was just like a gray and a black layer, and I painted in all sorts of stuff onto the bright and the dark stuff. And it ended up looking like this. I would say it looks quite disturbing because it looks so realistic. That's just the thing with silhouette painting. It can easily look very realistic very quickly. And what do you think about this, guys? I think it looks amazing. And look at all the sunspots that is on its back, because it's very high, it's very close to the sun, it's all burnt. I actually learned about sunspots from my wife. Apparently when you get sunburned enough, you get sunspots or freckles. So I added sunspots on its skin, looking very human-like. This could be your uncle, you know. And let's move along to the face. Here we have the face. Look at it. Just look at it. It's so pretty. It's looking at you, staring you down from above. And it can constantly just do this for years. It can just stare down and stare down, waiting for the right moment to pass. Not moment to pass, actually, worth waiting for the right moment to come, so that when a big animal or even a human comes by, it can just grab you up and pulls it towards its mouth. And its mouth looks very, very cute. You see, it's like cute. It's like a starfish kind of mouth, like a sea cucumber. And you can see the horns on its side. Like, I didn't draw the whole thing because I just wanted you to know what the face is supposed to look like. And I drew the rest of the head in this sort of brownish gray type of color, but I made the eyes and the mouth pitch black, so it's easier to read. And I added these whites so you can see the highlights. And I think, imagine you're just lying down there and you're looking at this thing above. It's just constantly looking at you. Just because you're at the wrong angle, it's not going to proceed to grab you. But if you happen to position yourself wrongly, it's gonna just grab you and then carry you up to its mouth, and that's it. Say goodnight. And this right here is an earlier exploration where the eyes are closer to each other. The gap between both eyes is very small, so this actually looks kind of funny, kind of like a flounder. in a way, like a flounder fish. But yeah, there we go. That's the Dredgebeast. Let me bring you back to the Dredgebeast itself. So this is the Dredgebeast. I will be putting this in my own world once more. I haven't made an official video yet, but this thing is supposed to exist in my world where the rat scouts live, where the gasping ape resides, and everything else. Most of the things that I've made on my channel, I do plan on putting it on my world. So it shouldn't be any timeline. I actually think these days I've made enough monsters so that I can maybe just focus more on building cultures and items people use, things people like to cook, people like to eat, and people like to stuff people like to dance to. Or just houses people like to build and live in. You know, like maybe I should do more of those. And then I promise you it's not gonna take much longer now before I announce you the name of my world. But so far the lore is building up. And it's also said that no one really knows of a dead Dredgebeast. When they die, they sort of just stop moving and they remain there and they sort of become a landmark. You know, like over time things can actually grow on them, but you never really know when they're dead. They might just be hibernating, and they might be like they're storing energy so that decades from now they'll start to move again. So in that aspect, I think is very creepy, because it can just catch you off guard because you think it's just actually dead. It hasn't moved in such a long time, and out of nowhere it just decides to grab you. And you can't really do anything about it because it's so big. Like nothing you do will even wake it up. Like you've tried attacking it way before in the past. Like you've tried attacking it so many times just to try to get it to move, but it hasn't moved at all. You think it's dead, but one day it just starts to move. And also, like, can you imagine if you've lived in the area for so long and this Dredgebeast just refuses to move, and you're thinking, this thing is he's gonna stay there forever. He's been there since I was born. He's just gonna stay there forever. And one day you're just fishing somewhere in a lake or even a pond, and then you realize, why did it get dark all of a sudden? And you look up and you just see a pair of eyeballs just looking down on you.
And then this thing is just like, you need to come into my mouth, eh? Come here.
Oh yeah, let's talk about the technicalities. First of all, I started in Infinite Painter to draw out the silhouette shapes. I really like Infinite Painter for doing this because it's very fast. They have this one painting tool called the Solid Fill tool. It's like the best of its kind. It's better than in Photoshop, because I don't think even Photoshop has any. Like you need a plug-in to use these the lasso fill tool thing. Like the moment you make a lasso selection, it automatically fills in that selection. Like I don't think Photoshop has that, and the way the dotted lines just like move around, and I just don't like the way it looks. Like I can't really tell what my shapes are, like if it's using those dotted lines, and I'll end up always having to make do by making the canvas size enormous, and I hate doing that. Like it's such a hassle. And on CSP they have one like that, but on Infinite Painter it's even better, because when you're making your strokes, the strokes come out in real time, and you can even erase with it. You can set the opacity down so that you can erase or paint in gradations. And after I've done the silhouette shapes on Infinite Painter, I exported that file straight to Procreate, and it's only two layers, one layer for the mid-tone and one more for the shadows. And once on Procreate, I just simply painted it in, and I used my own brushes. It's a mix of the concept art brushes and hand painting one. I really like doing it this way with concept art brushes for things that would look rather realistic, because for the skin itself, you can see all the wrinkles and all the texture of the skin, all the folds. It actually is just using a bunch of different brushes that I've included in my own concept art brush pack, like the clouds or like I don't quite remember. Oh, like builder brushes too. Like it's just like all sorts of random stuff that I've just experimented, like slapping on top of the skin of this Dredgebeast one by one. And I figured the cloud brushes seem to really fit the texture of skin well, and all I had to do was just fix it up by drawing the rest by hand to really like make everything come together looking like actual skin. And that's pretty much it. I enjoyed this very much. And if you have any questions about my workflow, like you want to know more about how I do things, you want to know more about my brushes or whatever, like what kind of apps I use, like could be anything really, you can just ask me down in the comment section below and I'll do my best to answer. And yeah, again, let me know what you think about this Dredgebeast. I think it looks awesome. I think it looks badass. It's enormous. I think it would fit very well in my own world, because in my own world you are either hot or you're grotesque, and this one is most definitely grotesque because it's a dinosaur, but it looks like a mutated human, a human that has mutated so much it's become a dinosaur, you know. So I really like the way it looks. So oh yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll be seeing you in the next video. Bye bye.